March 23, 1945, 10 p.m., near Oppenheim, Germany, the east bank of the Rhine. The river is black and swollen, moving fast, cold, relentless. Moonlight fractures across its surface as assault boats scrape softly against the mud. Somewhere upstream, artillery rumbles like distant thunder. But here, it is quiet. Too quiet. American engineers kneel in the darkness, hands numb, whispering measurements. Infantrymen of the U.S. Third Army grip M1 Garands, helmets low, breath fogging the night air. Cigarettes are forbidden. Even the river seems to be listening. General George S. Patton is not here. He doesn't need to be. His intent is already moving. At precisely 10:15 p.m., the first boats push off. Paddles dip silently. Water slaps against steel hulls. No barrage announces the crossing, no grand spectacle, just men sliding into history without permission. On the far bank, German sentries stare into the dark, expecting nothing. Intelligence said the Americans would wait. Intelligence said Montgomery would cross first. Intelligence was wrong. A flare rises suddenly, harsh white light tearing open the night. A shout, then gunfire. The first Americans spill on to the eastern bank of the Rhine. Within minutes, chaos erupts. Engineers haul pontoon sections forward, radios crackle, bridgeheads secure. Patton's armor is already rolling toward the river, engines idling, impatient. By dawn, something unthinkable is happening. The Rhine has been crossed. Not by the British, not by Montgomery's carefully staged operation, but by Patton, early, fast, and almost casually. A private is said to have muttered, half awed, half terrified, "We just stole the river." Word races west faster than the current. At Supreme Headquarters, maps are adjusted in silence. At British command tents, tempers ignite. And hundreds of miles away, a man with a cigar and a bowler hat is about to hear news that will test the very fabric of the Allied command. Because this crossing was not just a military maneuver. It was a challenge. March 24, 1945. Morning. Allied Headquarters, Northwest Europe. The report lands like a slap. Across a long table littered with maps and coffee cups, officers freeze mid-sentence. A red grease pencil circles the same word again and again. Rhine, East Bank, secured. Bernard Law Montgomery reads it once, then again. His jaw tightens. This was supposed to be his river. For months, Montgomery had planned Operation Plunder with meticulous care, rehearsing every detail, every photograph, every headline. The Rhine crossing was to be the grand, symbolic blow, the moment the British-led assault would roll into Germany with orchestral precision. It would be deliberate, overwhelming, impossible to ignore. And now, Patton had done it first. No warning, no permission, no spectacle. Montgomery's voice rises sharply inside the command tent. Aides exchange glances but say nothing. They've heard this tone before. Controlled fury, the kind that does not fade. "He has disrupted the plan," Montgomery snaps. "This is undisciplined, dangerous. He's undermined the entire operation." An officer tries to interject, quietly noting the bridgehead is holding, that casualties are light, that German resistance collapsed faster than expected. Montgomery cuts him off. "This is not about success," he says coldly. "This is about command." By midday, the accusation hardens into something sharper. Patton, Montgomery insists, has acted recklessly. He has jeopardized Allied coordination. He has humiliated British command in front of the world. And then comes the line that makes the room go still. Patton should be relieved. The demand transmits upward, through channels thick with politics and ego, across secure lines to the highest levels of Allied leadership. The words are chosen carefully, but the meaning is unmistakable. Fire him. Across the channel, the news travels quickly. Staff officers whisper, American commanders bristle. Patton's supporters smirk quietly, knowing exactly what he would say if asked. But the decision no longer belongs to generals in tents. It is moving toward a man who understands power, optics, and history better than anyone alive. In London, Churchill lights a cigar and listens. March 25th, 1945. Late afternoon. London. The Cabinet War Rooms. The air underground is stale, thick with smoke and old decisions. Maps cover the walls, pins marking advances that now move faster than anyone once dared imagine. Winston Churchill stands beneath the lamps, shoulders slumped slightly, cigar glowing like a slow-burning fuse. He does not speak at first. The message from the continent has already been read aloud. Montgomery's protest, his anger, his demand. The words still hang in the room, sharp and unresolved. Churchill exhales. He knows both men too well. Patton, the volatile American, brilliant and unbearable, a general who fights wars the way others fight duels. Montgomery, methodical, calculating, desperate to control the narrative of victory as much as the battlefield itself. And now, with Germany collapsing, their rivalry threatens to fracture something far more fragile than pride. Churchill turns toward the map of Germany. The Rhine, once an iron boundary, is now a thin blue line already pierced. He traces it slowly with the stem of his cigar. This war, he murmurs almost to himself, is not yet finished. The room remains silent. He understands the stakes. Soviet armies are surging from the east. Berlin is within reach. Every day matters. Every delay risks ceding ground not just to the enemy, but to the future shape of Europe itself. Churchill asks for casualty figures. He asks how quickly Patton's armor is moving. He asks whether German resistance has stiffened or shattered. The answers come fast. Minimal losses. Rapid advance. Enemy units retreating in disarray. Churchill closes his eyes for a moment. This is not insubordination in his mind. This is momentum. Dangerous, unruly momentum, but momentum nonetheless. And wars are not won by tidiness. Still, Montgomery's accusation cannot be ignored. British prestige is at stake. Allied unity hangs by a thread, strained by ambition and bruised egos. Churchill straightens. He asks for a direct line. He is ready to respond. And what he says next will decide far more than Patton's career. March 26, 1945. Evening. London to Supreme Headquarters Allied Expeditionary Force. The line crackles faintly, stretched across a continent at war. In the operations room, officers stand rigid, pencils hovering above paper. No one interrupts. Everyone knows this moment will echo. Winston Churchill's voice comes through measured, unmistakable. He does not raise it. He does not defend Patton by name. Instead, he frames the war. "We are not engaged," Churchill says slowly, "in a competition for applause." There is a pause, long enough to be felt. "Our object," he continues, "is the destruction of the German armies with the utmost speed." The words land with weight. Staff officers exchange glances. Montgomery is listening. Eisenhower is listening. Everyone understands the subtext. Churchill acknowledges Montgomery's planning, his careful orchestration, his patience. Then he pivots. "But when opportunity presents itself," Churchill says slowly, "a commander who hesitates may do more harm than one who acts." Another pause. Patton's crossing is described not as defiance, but as initiative, not as theft, but as exploitation of enemy weakness. Churchill emphasizes the calendar, the Red Army, Berlin, history closing in. "We cannot afford," he says, "to slow the advance for the sake of symmetry." It is not a rebuke, it is something sharper, a verdict. Churchill makes it clear, Patton will not be relieved, the advance will continue, results will outweigh bruised pride, the war demands urgency, not ceremony. When the line finally goes dead, the room remains silent. Montgomery has been overruled. Across Germany, Patton's tanks thunder eastward, bridgeheads widening by the hour. Soldiers do not know the argument unfolding above them. They only know the enemy is running. But beneath the victory, something has shifted. The illusion of perfect Allied harmony is gone, and the final phase of the war is about to become as political as it is violent. March 27 to 31st, 1945. Western Germany, rolling east of the Rhine. The bridges hold. Steel, timber, and pontoon spans creak under the weight of Sherman tanks, half-tracks, fuel trucks, ambulances. Traffic never stops. Dust rises in choking clouds as Third Army columns push deeper into Germany, overrunning towns whose names American soldiers cannot pronounce and no longer need to. Patton's headquarters moves forward relentlessly. He reads reports, curses traffic jams, demands speed. To his staff, the controversy is noise. To Patton, the Rhine was never a finish line, it was a door. German resistance collapses in pockets. Prisoners shuffle west by the thousands, hollow-eyed, exhausted. White flags appear in windows. Entire units surrender without firing a shot. The Reich is unraveling faster than even the optimists predicted. Yet behind the advance, tension hardens. British officers speak in clipped tones. American commanders bristle at whispers of recklessness. Eisenhower walks a careful line, praising coordination while privately acknowledging what everyone knows. Patton was right to move. Montgomery, outwardly composed, is furious. His own crossing goes forward days later, massive and theatrical, airborne troops descending, artillery roaring. It is everything he envisioned. But it is no longer first. The headlines have already shifted. The Rhine is no longer a barrier, it is a memory. In London and Washington, Churchill's words circulate quietly through corridors of power. They are not printed, they are repeated. A reminder that victory belongs to those who seize the moment, not those who wait for perfection. And yet, the cost of that philosophy lingers. Allied unity survives, but just barely. The smiles in photographs are practiced, the handshakes firm, but brief. The war is almost won, but the peace already looks complicated. Ahead lies Berlin, beyond it a divided world, and Patton, unstoppable, is already thinking about the next enemy, even as politicians begin to think about stopping him. April 1945. Europe in collapse. Germany is breaking apart. Cities fall in days, sometimes hours. Roads clog with refugees, prisoners, defeated soldiers discarding uniforms as they flee west, away from the Soviets. The war no longer advances in neat lines but in avalanches. Patton's Third Army surges forward, liberated camps revealing horrors no briefing ever prepared them for. His fury finds new fuel. This is what they were racing toward. This is why hesitation was never an option. Montgomery continues methodically, securing flanks, consolidating ground. His discipline prevents chaos. His caution saves lives. Both men, in their own way, are right. Churchill watches it all unfold from afar. He understands now what the Rhine argument truly was, not about Patton, not about Montgomery, but about how wars end, whether victory is claimed carefully or seized violently before it slips away. The Allied armies do not reach Berlin first. Politics decides that. Lines are drawn, flags are planted, the future is negotiated as much as it is conquered. And yet the Rhine crossing remains, a moment when initiative outweighed protocol, when ego collided with urgency, when a single decision forced leaders to choose between order and outcome. Churchill never publicly shamed Montgomery. He never openly praised Patton, but his message was clear to those who heard it. History does not wait for perfect plans. It rewards those who move when the moment opens and punishes those who argue while it closes. In the final weeks of the war, as the guns fall silent and Europe exhales, that lesson lingers, etched not in speeches, but in the muddy banks of a river that should have held.